own minds. I would suggest that before doing so, they should try to imagine what their grandparents, perhaps even their parents, would have made in the 1920s, even in the 1950s, of the idea that men would shortly be walking on the moon. That space probes would arrive at the precise time forecast years before on Jupiter or Saturn or Mars, and send back precise and detailed information. That instant communication by voice or image from one spot on the globe to any other would be just routine. That human hearts can be successfully transplanted, babies conceived in a test tube, and that all this would be commonplace in 2000. They would have found such happenings as bizarre, fanciful and incredible as some of the matters which have been reported all over the world to good by reliable and corroborated witnesses, such as Rubens Vilela, a distinguished scientist who has worked for the CIA as well as the US and Brazilian navies. I have laboured this point because I believe it is important, particularly to new listeners of the genre, to start with the notion that this is not a work of fiction. It is a carefully considered report by a distinguished and experienced researcher. Let me go over to the attack. UFO protagonists now have no need to be defensive, if they ever had. So if, after listening to chapters 8 through 13, you still do not believe that there was a creature of Praetare, try answering the following questions. Why on earth should Caponi make up such an unlikely tale? How, if he made it up, did a young, unsophisticated artisan from a remote Italian village manage to convince such an experienced, hard-headed researcher as good? Why was a hostile carabinieri unable to break his story or to discredit his photographs? Why did the US Embassy in Rome try to steal the photographs? If, after listening to chapters 2, 16 and 17, you still do not believe that there is something very odd going on in Puerto Rico, then you have brought skepticism to an art form. Why does almost the entire population believe in the existence of the so-called chupacabras? Why does the US military deny access to part of the island which is reported to contain an alien base, and is sometimes guarded by armed sentries? These, and many more strange stories from the island, have been checked out with the author by Graham Shepherd, a recently retired British Airways captain, who relates in Chapter 2 a remarkable experience he had there himself, not far from an area where 2 other pilots simply disappeared some years before. He and his aircraft, flying there in good weather, inexplicably suffered what he describes as an enormous lateral displacement, which took him miles off his course and nearly into a forbidden zone. Is it likely that a man whose very career depends on his airmanship and total integrity would make up such a yarn? All these, and many other astonishing and well-documented experiences, await you in this remarkable book. It will appeal, I have no doubt, to the new explorer in this strange territory, as well as to the regular UFO buff. Listeners of either persuasion cannot fail to be impressed, as I was, that many incidents reported by the author are corroborated by more than one independent witness, frequently a member of the police or the military, whose integrity there can be no reason to doubt. Good has given me in confidence the names of many of his sources who do not at present wish to be identified, and I can vouch for their record of probity and good standing, frequently in government service. This alone makes Unearthly Disclosure worthy of serious attention, and allows me to recommend it with confidence. It is a first-class listen, and an important contribution to the UFO lexicon. Hill Norton. Admiral of the Fleet, the Lord Hill Norton was educated at the Royal Naval Colleges, Dartmouth and Greenwich. During the Second World War he served in Arctic convoys, the North-West approaches, and on the Admiralty Naval Staff. From 1953 to 1955, he served as naval attaché in Argentina, Uruguay and Paraguay. He commanded HMS Decoy, 1956-7, and HMS Ark Royal, 1959-61. In 1968, he was promoted Admiral, and in 1969 became Commander-in-Chief of all British forces in the Far East. In 1970, he was appointed First Sea Lord, the professional head of the Royal Navy, and from 1971...